Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, my name is Resonance22, and welcome to this week's Forgotten Empires community livestream. We do a livestream here every week, and if you follow us on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter, you will get updates on when we're streaming next. The VODs, of course, always go to YouTube, so make sure to follow us there as well. Our livestreams are a great place to ask us questions about development, but of course, we have to give you vague answers about the possibility of things like future content or new features. To start off by really briefly just saying hello to everybody. I noticed a couple of faces have arrived. Welcome to the stream, Gustav, Toby, I see Dark Paladin and Sir Lawrence, Kazoogle Kugel, Joe Null, welcome. Dota Pro Gamer says, great music as always. Indeed, every single game in the Age of Empires franchise I feel like has just an excellent soundtrack. Thank Gustav. Hey, Alcolente as well, good to see ya. I'll answer that question in a moment, Dark Paladin. Always a pleasure to see ya. Dark Paladin, Sir Lawrence, always polite. Alright, so... yeah, I feel like, whether or not you're a big fan of AoE 3 or Age of Mythology, that the soundtracks were just immaculate. Well, personally, I enjoyed those games as well. So, we're going to briefly start off by introducing the players. We have Telemachos playing as the Yellow Franks, and we have Joe Null playing as the Green Slavs. On the opposing team, we have Flatch playing as the Blue Spanish, and Pete playing as the Red Indians. The map today is going to be Hillfort. What does that mean? That means the players spawn surrounded by walls, but they're on a hill, which means the hill is actually relatively easy to defend due to the 25% extra damage you deal and 25% less you take if you have the hill advantage. It's quite nice. However, your starting base has a very limited set of resources, so our yellow friend over here is going to have to migrate near the edges of the map or towards the middle if he wants to find additional trees and gold and stone. Space is sparse. This forces players to fight each other, and Hillfort is a map that I think is actually quite fun to play, so great to see that. We're going to briefly alt-tab and see what Dark Paladin asked us. He says, in your opinion, between giving Bloodlines and giving the Chinese hand carriers Mabard cannons, giving Burmese and Mongols Paladins, which civs would end up being the most OP if given such techs? That's a tough and interesting question. Oh, man. Oh, God. I'm not going to be able to answer this correctly, Dark Paladin. That's a tough question. I like it. I'm going to say that I feel like giving the Mongols Paladins is probably insane. Oh, man. But that's tough. Tough question. Oh, okay. I appreciate it, Dark Paladin. Yeah, I mean, I've been really nice to him, and I've been giving him special treatment. So it was weird that he would act out like that, but it's no big deal. I am happy to give him one more chance in the near future. We'll see, as long as he's super careful. So I'm absurdly lenient with moderation. Most people are a lot less forgiving than me, so yes, we'll see. I'll give it some thoughts. Well. Welcome to the stream, Jezu. JJ asks, does hill advantage work for towers, castles, and town centers too? So this is interesting, and Giant Apple has already answered it for us. He says that, so defensively it works. So if you have a castle on a hill, and your opponent is attacking from below, the castle takes 25% less damage. The first arrow is actually the only one that deals 25% more, whereas the secondary arrows are not affected by it. It's actually really interesting how that works out. Age of Empires has a lot of odd mechanics like that, which aren't immediately obvious. For example, did you know that if you fire a projectile, such as a hand cannoneer bullet, and it misses the original target, but it hits somebody else, suck to be that unlucky guy, that he takes 50% of the attack damage of that bullet. Fascinating, right? So there's little mechanics like that that make this game, add a lot of like weird hidden depth to it. On the stream as well, Falcon Pinch. It's my favorite move in Super Smash Bros., the Falcon Pinch. So, Semcan, this is Hillfort. This is a very interesting map and one that I certainly enjoy playing. For those of you who are just tuning in, as I've noticed that people are starting to trickle in, patch 5.2, as I've explained several times today, but I gotta keep rehashing it because that's my job. Patch 5.2 has unfortunately been delayed due to a couple really nasty bugs that have been introduced. So even though patch 5.2, which we're playing the beta right now, contains all these awesome performance improvements that we're really excited to show you, comes at a price. And it looks like patch 5.2, the plan is tentatively to have it delayed, and then patch 5.3 will come out instead at a later date, and patch 5.3 will contain all the performance improvements and more. What will patch 5.3 contain? We're not entirely sure yet. Right now we're working on things such as significant changes and improvements to the spectating system, as well as some improvements to unit pathing and just miscellaneous bug fixes. In a future patch, we would like to also do some AI-focused fixes, as there's quite a few long-standing AI bugs. And then at some point, some changes and improvements to the lobby system. I don't know what these changes and improvements to the lobby system would constitute, but I would do many, many things in order to get a password system or the ability to ban someone from the lobby. That would be excellent. That would be seriously excellent. So I would love that. Gustav asks, is the AoE 2 team planning to rename the Arambai as Bad Mangadai? Ha! So Gustav, I feel like the units are very, very different from each other. So I don't think we have plans to do that at present. I want to stream Third Cross. Like, because, you know, the Arambai doesn't attack that quickly. It's really high attack damage. It misses all the time. The Mangadai is much faster. It's, you know, they're very different units. Bad Conquistador, I would also disagree. That's something that So initially I thought, when I first saw this unit, is that this was the OP Conquistador, not the bad one. It so turns out that they're actually fairly different units, and this is something that Cision encouraged us to, no, give this a chance. Actually, you wouldn't believe it, but it actually is fairly unique. And it is. So, the Arambai is the Burmese unique unit, and the Rise of the Rajas DLC that you can purchase on Steam. Rise of the Rajas adds 4 new civilizations, and the Burmese unique unit, the Arambai, is a cavalry unit. It's mounted as a ranged attack that does really high damage, but has really poor accuracy, and it doesn't have excellent range. And its armor is crappy, too. So we're beginning to sound like a Conquistador, except the Conquistador has respectable armor. The thing is though, the Conquistador accuracy, I believe... I'm really nerdy, so for some reason I remember all these things, because I play this game all day, every day, since I was like 7 years old. I believe the Conquistador accuracy is like 60 or 65% in the Castle Age, which is not great, but it's not terrible. And then the Arambai Castle Age accuracy, I think, is 20%. So the difference there is huge. And I feel like that creates a different dynamic. In the Imperial Age, it's different. I think the Conquistador goes to like 70-75%, and then the Arambai is like 30%. So what kind of dynamic do we have coming into play here? So for starters, the Arambai is significantly weaker to ranged units because its accuracy is just garbage, and it has worse armor than the Conquistador too. So it's terrible accuracy. It's really bad at long range. It's like a super exaggerated Conquistador. The Arambai is so much stronger at close range than a Conquistador is because of the increased attack damage. Also, whenever your projectile misses the original target, like I just said, it's half damage, and if that, in the case of the Arambai, it's like a truck. So the Arambai is actually pretty nice, and since its accuracy is so poor, and it misses all the time compared to a Conquistador, it's much better versus massed enemy units. You know, you can think of it as kind of like pseudo area of effect thing, or at least insurance, a way to mitigate that poor accuracy. Your opponent has a large army of units, and you have a ton of Arambai. You missing your shots, you're going to keep hitting something. And that does so much damage. So really good against massed enemy units. One way to deal with that, of course, is staggered formation. And they're just absurdly good in close range, where the accuracy is less of a big deal. So, I would say that the unit actually somehow feels different enough than a Conquistador. It's interesting that it works out that way. Arambai actually deals range damage. Markov, welcome to the stream. He says, hello, how do you do, and are you ready for the spring? Never ready for the spring, man. My allergies are super severe. Manners, we have plans to do some AoE trivia actually on the official Forgotten Empire's Facebook page soon. I don't know if you can play Ilford on Voobly Semcan. I don't know if anyone has that map. Melanie says nerd. I swear that the Arambai deals range damage. I might be wrong, but I swear it does, and it just happens to deal enough damage that Huskarls actually take some damage from it. So how do you deal with Arambai? Right? The answer is ranged units. The Arambai just gets melted by things like Arbalest because they can't hit the Arbalest at all, and they have very low pierce armor, crappy pierce armor. Arambai are also much better versus buildings than Conquistadors are because you can't miss large building unless you're really, really blind. Jizzo asks, how come you never co-cast with Mem? You two have great synergy. So I would definitely like to co-cast with Mem at some point. I've done it before. I have a few videos with Mem on my YouTube channel. It's just mostly a question of free time. I am incredibly busy. I know I don't post like super often on the Forgotten Empires pages, but the thing is that being a community manager is like a full-time, non-stop job, and I also have to manage my personal channels too. So it's a lot of work. I barely have any free time. So it's difficult for me to find time, for example, to do a co-cast with Mem or T90 and whatnot. I'm sure I will do it at some point, though. I like Mem a lot. I know that not everyone likes his content, but I have nothing but respect for the guy, in that he is one of the hardest working Age of Empires content creators out there, like, by far. He puts so much effort and so much love into what he does that nothing but respect. And yeah, I think that we could do some co-casting at some point. I know that some of my viewer base is not, super keen on the idea, but some people are, so I'll still probably do it anyway. I just need to find the time, yeah. Let's see. Sir Lawrence asks, the Rombai have even worse accuracy against infantry due to unit size, doesn't it? Yeah, it's an interesting thought, right? That's why in my civilization overview for the Burmese, I had a battle elephant getting hit by all the missed Arambai shots to showcase how accuracy works. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, since the infantry have a smaller hitbox, sure, I suppose that's correct. It's just, I guess, the infantry have to be in super close range, so that wouldn't come into play. But yeah, it's a funny mechanic, an interesting way of looking at it, Sir Lawrence. Gustav says, is paper money tech rush the new pro strat? I don't think so. I feel like paper money is, I don't know how I feel about the balance of it. Maybe we want to shift the resource cost around, but I don't know if we actually will. I don't think that that's actually the go-to strategy, though. It's a pretty big investment. And yes, we co-cast Spirit of Law through Microsoft Excel. Spirit of Law does not seem to be interested in doing any, like, collabs or anything. But if he was, I mean, I would be interested, sure. It's always a scheduling thing. It's not, I love everybody in this community. Now, I like to spend a lot of the... Obviously, since I'm the community manager, I spend a lot of my time answering questions. I still like to talk a little bit about strategy, too, so we're going to try our best to talk about it. It's just everyone has so many questions. Such a passionate community here. Such a passionate community here. So, what's going on strategically? In the early game, not too much is happening, so I usually like to answer questions. Yes. Let's see, Jumnal, on his way to the castle age, I believe almost everybody is. Telemacho is kind of segmenting off this part of the map. I think that's wise, because the safest parts of the map are going to be to your right and left, rather than in the middle. So, it's good to see them actually protecting this. No wall-off over here. Establishing a wall-off is really difficult, though, because you have this moat sitting here, and I really don't see the moat come into play that often. I've never seen anyone use a demolition ship to defend themselves, so that'd be kind of nice. Dynastic PS, there are a lot of mod makers. Think you could ever give some spotlight? That's a good idea. I don't really use too many mods personally that often, and the official Age of Empires Facebook page does highlight them from time to time. So it's not really my cup of tea or expertise, but it's a good idea, and I could see myself doing that. Yeah, it could happen. We're really mostly focused, though, on HD mods, because we make expansions for Age of Empires to HD Edition, and that's the focus here, so... It would be HD mods, if I showcased anything. Also, asked, who's the best player of the developer team? That's a tough question. You put the Kappa there, so I'm not sure if you want... if you were joking. That's a tough question. We have a lot of good players in the dev team, so I don't know if I am capable of answering that. Actually, almost everybody is pretty good. At least everybody I've played with. Everyone that you would expect to be good. Even a couple guys in the translation team are pretty decent. Everyone has their own unique playstyle, and I think that the scariest player in the game changes based off what kind of map and situation we have, so... It really honestly heavily varies, but I would say that a lot of the dev team are somewhat close to my level. Like, for example, Cision's a very good player too, and he has a really, like, polar opposite playstyle. He just is super aggressive. Cision loves his one town center pushes, and it really catches people off guard. So, I don't know if I can answer that question. There are a lot of good players there. Yeah, Promi, for example, has a very strong late-game macro. Tom, the guy who makes the random maps, has some truly interesting off-meta strategies that he pulls out. He's unpredictable, really scary player. Yeah, Cision's super aggressive. That's I don't know if people would expect that, but like his playstyle's scary. You better be scouting around, because in the fog of war, he's dropping a castle on you somewhere, all the time. The best player in the dev team is the monkey mascot. Let's see. The Blackwind says, the mode is useful for demo ships and cannon galleons. I'm the only person who plays 1v1 hideout frequently. Yeah, I haven't seen that come into play yet, and this is a map that, now that the bugs are fixed, it's great to see in action. So, welcome to Stream Library Luna. Always a pleasure to see you there. And, well, we're into the game again. Some knights coming out from Jom Null. I feel like knights, if you're wondering, why knights, right? Because these players start with palisade walls. They're all boxed in their own base. That doesn't seem quite wise, and Cool to see Telemachos going for a very, very aggressive wall. The reason that knights are actually pretty good, and we see this coming into play here, is that you are forced to exit your base and go into the low ground, and that means that you are actually vulnerable to knights. You're not nearly as safe as it seems, and poor Flatch, what the hell's going on, actually? His eco is in shambles. He's long-distance cutting. He's got no money in the bank at all. He's in a lot of trouble. I wonder what his game plan was there. He's going to have to rely on Pete to swing in here with a couple of camels to bail him out. Pete is the Indians, though, so these are very, very strong camels. Perhaps with a hill advantage, he will be able to take on Telemachos. Will Telemachos fall for it? Actually, Telemachos is the hill advantage now. Look at this micro. Really, Pete just needs to stall. Pete, building up his economy on the low ground, he's got the double town centers. He actually should be fine. None of his villagers are isolated enough, so... Alquillante's decision is too used to the arena-style all-in pushes. Speaking of players who are quite good at Forgotten Empires, Alquilante is one of them. Really, almost everybody at Forgotten Empires is actually pretty good at Age of Empires, too. I would say the best player at Skybox Labs is actually, I think, Mornis. Chris is actually quite good. He's not, like... he's not, you know, an extremely competitive player or anything by any means, but I think that catches people off guard in playtests is that Mornis actually is, you know, better than most Skybox employees and actually does play the game. He is pretty good. Yeah, Cision loves that all in, man. I remember in one of our testing games, he went for like a castle drop all in, one town center, Malay, Karambit warrior rush in the castle. That was pretty scary. Some of the FE guys like don't have that much time to play nowadays, but they're all fairly solid. Yes, yeah, Jeremy's pretty good too. Well, a bunch of night raiding going on. Flatch is super behind. He does have a castle to go for conquistadors, which if he micros them carefully, should be able to keep him alive. But right now, what Flatch needs is map control. That's the big thing. What I need right now is more allergy medication. Ah, I'm so congested. Alright, and we're back. Looks like Flatch has managed to stabilize. Pete in a very commanding position. Why is Pete so spoiled? Has he been going to the gym recently? Maybe, but that's irrelevant. The answer is actually that he has had 2 town centers on the low ground, and he has that strong Indians economy. Discounted villagers really allowing him to stockpile a lot of extra food. And the camels, of course, a natural counter to this knight-centric metagame that we're seeing on Hillfort. Will Flatch be able to keep... Yes, nice. So he's pulling this one conquistador back. Should be able to get a lot of free damage on these knights, and he might even be able to keep this conquistador alive, but the answer is probably not. It lives at 1 HP. Nice. Great micro there from Flatch. Flatch was really struggling initially. I think it really caught him off guard that he had almost no access to wood income whatsoever, and that slowed him down a lot. But he's managed to actually salvage the situation. So you would think that the bottom team is in a pretty good spot, but Telemachos is up to something weird. He really just wants to cut this map in half, segment it, and we'll have to see if this pays off. Slavs plus Franks, very powerful knight combination, but as the game drags on, we have to watch for those Indians as they continue to massive camels. Gustav says, say Cat in the Hat are pre-recorded. That's one of my favorite memes to come out of the Hearthstone community. It's like the shoe on header pre-recorded thing. Because there have been controversies with Hearthstone streamers, actually, some really unscrupulous ones, actually streaming pre-recorded to fake that they had a 100% win rate. Absolutely ridiculous, but thankfully that doesn't happen here. Age of Empires 2 community, I feel like we're really spoiled. We don't know. There are some unscrupulous people in the AoE 2 community too, but at least as far as like big personalities go, everyone is just wonderful, and everyone loves this game. I mean, we have to be really passionate about this game because it's super old. I've been playing Age of Empires 2 since I was 7 years old, and we're all very attached to it. So I think the community here overall is just great. It's an excellent place to make friends. More like Telemichi. Wow. Back into the game itself. Telemachos snagging some relics. He's prepping for the long game. Joe Knoll has his economy at the back, again, in a very easy to defend position. Telemachos 69 population, Flatch of 53. This is typical because he lost a lot of villagers. 78 for Joe Knoll. Wow. And Pete up to 88. That is the really strong Indians economy coming into play. Flash might be behind here, but he could be okay. Gonna get some free damage on Telemacho's Knights. He's got the range advantage, so if he just micros his units carefully, which he has been, he should be able to stabilize. But really what Flash needs the most is more town centers. That's going to be the thing that defines this game. Pete might be much stronger than everyone else in this game, but Flash a little bit further behind. So he needs to get his eco back on track. And that's what he's doing. He recognizes this properly. With this town center here, as soon as he stockpiles more wood, I'm sure he's going to put down another one on top of that. On the stream, Phi Silver asks, how often are empires forgotten? Not too often, as, I don't know what you mean by that. Pete is actually pretty close to being able to research the Imperial Age if he actually sells a bit of food. Tamajo's saying, make helps besiege an imp. Why can I see that chat? Or I guess I can just see cross-player chat regardless of my camera, so we'll have to see. Flash in a world of hurt right now. Here comes some knights. These are not his, and his conquistador is actually at the front of his base on a hill. He's looking for a pick-off, but he's not going to find it. And now he's going to lose the town center. He will critically be able to drop off that relic to get some more gold income, but Flash in a lot of trouble. This town center being denied. He might even lose the foundation. Forcing this to be deleted will cost him a lot of resources and time, and Flash can't afford to fall further behind than he is right now. And it's difficult for him to stonewall this because of this note. I know it was a joke, the Black Winds, but I've been trained from years on the internet and also, you know, PR stuff that I have to take everything seriously. Otherwise, it's inconsiderate. You know, someone will come in the stream and they'll ask me completely seriously, this game, you know, why don't conquistadors shoot lasers? They're the worst unit in the game, and you guys are terrible. And if I think they're joking, that comes off incredibly disrespectful. So I learned over the years that sometimes people who come in the chat and seem like they're trolling are actually being genuine, and there's just something lost in translation there. And that if I don't take them seriously, then not only is it inconsiderate, but they're just going to be afraid to ask questions. I knew that was a joke, though. That's true, Phi Silver. Your rank doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what's in your heart. JT Lonely Knight says, Flash getting pummeled from behind. Yes. It's an unfortunate choice of words. So, Flash did not lose this town center foundation, I believe, so that's actually fine. He lost quite a few villagers, though, and he might need to rely on some sling from Pete. Pete's really strong, though. Telemacho's a little bit behind, too, and I think that this is going to be a great game. Pete, on his way to the Imperial Age, he's got the counter to both of these civilizations' optimal choice of units, which is just going to be knights based off their bonuses. So Pete's got the counter, he's got the strong economy, he just has to buy time for Flash to get huge and they can win. Their win condition is either just 2v1 Pete and take him out of the game, or just keep Flash down. Can you keep a good Flash down? We'll have to see. Pete, though, with his university, I feel like he's going for hand cannoneers, maybe getting the chemistry upgrade, or he's just going for murder holes or something. No, actually, no, he wants bombard cannons. That's the plan here. I always do, guys. I always take it seriously. So, the units are sprites, Phi Silvers has been checking the game files lately. I'm quite confused with the units, buildings, environments, sprites, or models. They are sprites based off actual 3D models. I think we have a few devlogs that kind of showcase this. It's actually really interesting. Like, that's why AV2 looks so smooth, is it's like all the fun of 3D, but it's, you don't have to worry about all the performance issues and all the weird graphics stuff. Age of Empires 2 is a game that aged very well. So, our Slavs player here, Joe Null, mixing in monks with his army. What do we think of this decision? I actually like this. I feel like the monks are a solid counter to camels. Camels even have almost no attack damage at all, so they have a lot of trouble actually killing monks. And this also allows you to heal up your knights. So yeah, I recommend monks as a counter to really like expensive melee units like knights, elephants, etc. Camels can be fine too. And as the Slavs, their monks are quite solid. I feel like though Telemacho is going to have to make something else besides knights at some point, even though he doesn't want to. And that's really the thing that the Franks always want to do, is continually produce knights. They got the bonuses for it. Not sure what he should make here. Throwing Axeman doesn't feel good either, because Flash is the Spanish. He's got Conquistadors, and Conquistadors do fairly well versus infantry units, so not sure what I'd like to see from him. The Franks have a somewhat limited tech tree. I think that you can maybe go like hand cannoneers plus bombard cannons, I think is probably fine versus this army comp. So Lawrence is like, why don't Conquistadors shoot potatoes? I don't know, man. we gotta find Gotta find the original Ensemble Studios team. I do think that the name Forgotten Empires as an expansion in a company is actually very, very clever for an expansion that came out well after the fact. These are all the civs that could have made it in the original game, but they were, quote, forgotten about. So I think it's quite clever. Forgotten Empires is always finding new Forgotten Empires for expansions. Well, at some point that definitely will come to a close, as there are really only so many empires. Oh, I agree. Throwing Axle plus Arson is actually sick. They just eat right through buildings. So this fight was kind of a wash for Pete, and even though Flatch is behind, he's catching up. You see him catching up in the score department. Joe Null's like, that failed, and yes, it did. Why did that fail? So I feel like they didn't have a clean enough answer to the camels. Not enough monks, and then the army just got cleaned up. The knights are just not working, and we only had knights from Telemachus as well. This is going to be a difficult time for them. They have to transition into another unit if they want to stay on top. And then also, the Conquistadors providing some excellent range support. This is a very powerful yet expensive army. Telemachus says just go help with siege. I think that's a good idea. I think the Halberdiers, they're going to die to the Conquistadors, but that's fine. You really want to deter the Imperial Camels. They're the real big threat. And siege allows you to deal with the bombard cannons from your opponent and also to deal with the conks, so I think it's fine. Telemachus up to the Imperial Age. Flatch, though, still in castle. Let's go check on him, see how he's doing. He's actually, okay, so he's doing a great job catching up. When you fall behind economically, you really want to focus on building up your eco first, rather than blowing all your money on a military that's going to be strictly inferior than your opponents. You're not going to have enough money to actually keep up with them. He's going to sustain a lot more eco damage, though. Telemachus has decided that his win condition is to keep Flatch weak, and hopefully they can 2v1 this Indian's menace. Flatch's been taking so much pressure this entire game, but he's building back. And now the elephant in the room is Pete. He's pushing in. This gate will not stand. Joe Null does not have much of an army. And if he wants to go for the siege plus Halbs combination, then he needs to get all those appropriate upgrades first. Halberdier research completed for Telemachos. That looks like what he's going to be going for. He's also going to go for Halberdier plus siege. Interesting, interesting. I wonder if Joe Null will be able to finish this in time. Pete can push out. Question is, does Pete have to pull back any units to defend Flatch? I don't know. Because Flatch really has... Flatch would probably actually be able to contain this himself. Flatch has no upgrades in his Conquistadors, but that's not a big deal, because this is like a mono melee army at this point. So provided he micros well, this isn't a big problem for him. But I would like to see things like Bloodlines and whatnot, +1 defense. This battle, though, will be decisively in his favor. He has the hill advantage, Conquistadors have the range advantage, and he will be able to save himself. So now it's on Pete to come in here. Let's check out Joe Null and see if he has the money and the technology he needs to defend himself. He's got Town Watch, which will allow him to see that he is in deep trouble, but that will not deal with this army directly. He's got Halberdier Research. This is good. +2 defense, +2 attack. But where's the siege? That is the question. There is no siege yet. He has a lot of money in the bank. He doesn't want to spend it on knights. He doesn't want to spend it on champions either. We'll probably get, well, champions will be fine until the Conquistadors show up. Pete, a little scared, doesn't want to push out. Look at the score discrepancy. Pete is so strong. It's really interesting. The Indians were not... The Indians, I feel like they may have been pushed slightly over the edge due to their increased villager discount. It's a really tricky thing to balance. I don't think the Indians are like super crazy or anything, but that's a strong bonus, and one we'll be monitoring. Not sure if we'll make any changes to it, but we might. Depends as needed. Also, I feel like Peach is playing really well. And he had just a solid matchup here. This was something that his opponents were not prepared for. They were not ready to deal with the camels. They just ended up going for the knights, things that they should have been strong for. They didn't want to forfeit that offensive pressure. I think that was right. I really feel like green and yellow should have made knights, and that allowed them to put Flatch super far behind. It's just they didn't transition into something else fast enough. Like this battle over here was a total disaster, and that's something that they probably could have been better prepared for. Right now, though, the shoe's on the other foot. Momentum should maybe switch because they've got Halbs. They have the counter to these Imperial Camels. Now Pete's gonna have to make something else to back this up, and crap, of course he's prepared for this. He's going for hand cannoneers plus skirms to back this up. But now the Halbs, not going to be so great. That was a good engagement for them, but... well, they're going to have to be really careful here. We need something to deal with these mass range units, and that's why the siege is so nice as a way to... ooh, militia, that's the counter. As a way to deal with the skirms and bombards and hand cannons. That was a misclick. Jeez, JT Lonely Knight, you're on fire with the innuendos today. Throne asks, what led you to remove the elite upgrade for slingers anyway? I played one game as Incas, it's like, what the hell, where's the elite upgrade? Did we ever have an elite upgrade for slingers? I feel like we didn't. So that's an interesting question. The Incas as a civilization were, in my personal opinion, very weak when they came out, and that was kind of the opinion of the company too. We were really careful to try and not create a universe like the Conquerors, where all the Conqueror civilizations had to be really strong in their own way. Obviously, the Koreans really bad in Arabia, but really strong in Black Forest. This is a strong late game siege and gunpowder. We really wanted to avoid another Conqueror situation. That's something the decision has said. So the balance with like the new civs in the first expansion was undershot just a little bit. And yeah, the Incas were definitely one of them that were weaker. The Magyars actually initially, as funny as it is, believe it or not, the Magyars were initially the strongest new civilization. They were okay. Since then, though, all the new civs have received a lot of buffs. And as a result, even though the Magyars were once actually decent, they are now probably weaker than the other forgotten civilizations. And now civs like the Incas are actually very strong. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why the Incas don't need elite slingers, because the slinger performs pretty well, honestly. It trades fairly well with archers. It's still good in the Imperial Age. It's a common misconception. It's actually a decent unit. And the Incas have so many excellent tools at their disposal. They got the Couriers technology, too, to buff it. The Couriers change was massive for the Incas. It really just kind of shored up any holes in their defenses. It's just an excellent, excellent technology now. So we feel like it's just unnecessary. And that might push the Incas over the edge. The slingers are better than they seem in the Imperial Age, and the Incas have plenty of tools to deal with things like infantry, and they're just fine. It's nice. Yeah, camels are not as vulnerable to halbs as knights are, but it's still okay. And now we're in a tricky situation. So the siege is coming out for yellow and green. They've got the mass halbs. They're doing a great job holding on against Pete, but bombard cannons do beat them, beat the onagers. So it just comes down to some excellent micro. Pete has to really make sure his hand cannoneers don't eat a single onager shot, though. So it's just good control. But right now, Pete being 2v1'd, that's the problem. That's what makes this game so fascinating. And a good player identifies their win conditions like this. You look at the game situation, and the way they win is to keep Flatch weak, and then just 2v1 Pete. Maybe they can snowball the game out of control before Flatch gets into the game. That's how they're going to have to win. That's why Telemachos has this wall over here, because he wants to force the fight on Pete 2-on-1, where he can't possibly win. Pete's been doing a crazy job actually staying alive here and microing this pretty nicely. That's a good shot. He even has siege engineers to give that extra 1 range, which is huge in these siege fights. A really criminally underrated technology. But Flatch, clawing his way back in the game. Can Pete stall? He's honestly not losing that much ground. Pete even putting a castle on this hill here. It's those bombard cannons. They don't have a clear answer to them. They might need some hussars or something, I think, to charge those down. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard. Ranko P says, since we're talking about the Incas, can you do something about their team bonus? I will continue asking the dev team what our plans are for the Incas team bonus, because yeah, it's a little bit underwhelming. The Incas team bonus is weaker than it's supposed to be, and I wouldn't be surprised if we made changes to it, but I don't know if we have plans to. It's something I will continue to bring up in future meetings, and we'll see. There have been some good onager shots so far. John Kelly says, what do you think are some of the characteristics of AoE2 that have contributed to its longevity? Not many games get this much love, far beyond its original release. Oh man, I could, at some point I'll probably on my personal channel do a really long vlog where I talk about the reasons why this game's so great. I mentioned this in that like 3v3 Mega Random game, which will also be on the FE YouTube channel soon, in like a week or so. Where I figured out my calling in life. It's shilling this game, because this game is so good. Trying to get other people to understand and appreciate why this game is so great. Every time I get a chance to talk to another game developer, I'm always shilling this game to them. It's like, no, you don't understand. This is immaculately well designed. This is what we should learn from it. And why. I'm not going to go too much into detail, because I could ramble about it for hours, but the general idea is, for one, I think the focus on base building, I think, is really important. I believe in a game, you want to give players some sort of, like, way to express themselves, and I feel like base building is a great way to do that, especially for newer players who may not be playing optimally. And base building is the type of thing where even if you do it horribly wrong, or Age of Empires is a game where, yeah, if you play it really badly, you still have a lot of fun. StarCraft 2 is a game that I really enjoy and I've played a lot of, but I feel like it's a lot less fun to be bad at StarCraft 2. That's my personal opinion, of course, and again, it's a game I really like, and it inspired me to do commentaries for tournaments and whatnot and really get into this. I feel like it's a lot less fun to be terrible at StarCraft. And I always think about why that is, and I feel like it's because Age of Empires 2 has a lot of mechanics like base building that allow users to express themselves. You can have fun doing your farming simulator and building your SimCity base super neat when you're a kid. And with StarCraft 2, the game is very heavily focused on a lot of these like forced mechanics, like we force the players to fight by only allowing them to build their bases in these set locations and they're just slowly moving them towards each other, so the systems feel a little less natural, and it's harder to have like a slow, base-oriented building game. Managing an economy is really, really difficult and something that I understand why modern games have pushed away from, because it's not intuitive to do base building and like economy management well, so that's why it's been simplified a lot, and the focus has been put on like military management, which is also more interesting to watch for some people. It's just that I feel like playing Age of Empires 2 wrong is fun. Playing it right is fun too. So I think that's a big part of it. Dark Helen says, I love how some civilizations have strong bonuses with clear and necessary drawbacks. Like the Vietnamese have bonus HP and archers with a crappy early game. Malay's cheaper battle elephants with worse cavalry. Khmer ballista elephants being super vulnerable to conversion. Completely agree, Dark Paladin. Yeah, the civilization design and everything in this game I also feel like is just great. I feel like in order for a game to be as timeless as this, it needs to be really appealing for casual players too. It needs to be something that can be played and enjoyed badly, and I think Age of Empires 2 is one of them. Yeah, so I always argue that I think that RTS games would be more popular if they made a return to things like base building and more complex economies, rather than just being like super micro-oriented. I think that would be... Yeah, StarCraft 2 is just a very unforgiving game, I guess. But it's incredibly interesting, and I like it a lot, so I think that's part of it. There are a number of things, though. Like, for starters, there's so much freedom in what you do in this game. Like, I can build a base with just trees. I can build my base wherever I want. This game has almost no restrictions. And I feel like that opens up a lot of really creative strategies and interactions between players and civilizations, that there are so few restrictions. And this game utilizes generally a system of soft counters. It's got a nice, like, relaxed pacing to it. It's got really, like, timeless graphics. I think almost everyone thinks medieval stuff is cool, so... Really passionate developers. A number of things. This game was not, super heavily monetized to a ridiculous level. Hopefully I don't wake up one morning and I'm buying skins for my conquistadors that give them extra hats. Although I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If that's a way to make money and to keep the game cost cheaper, then I actually welcome that. Actually, yeah, I take that back. That's actually fine. As ridiculous as it might be, I would much rather game devs do that as a way to pay the bills than, like, make me have to buy the civs and I have none at the start. So maybe that's fine. Yeah. So really, I would just say that this is the type of game that can be enjoyed no matter how you play it. Age of Empires 2 doesn't force you to play one way, it just gives you that freedom. And yeah, I think that there are, of course, some other things that other games do better than Age of Empires 2. It's just one of my favorite games. There's just, there's a lot of variety in it, you know? And it's interesting to consider why this game is so fun. And I think everyone has a little bit of a different answer, and it's something I'm always asking myself. Extra hats for Siege Rams. Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm not opposed to that. If that's what generates money and keeps development moving forward, that's actually fine. Skins are fine. I'd much rather have skins than, like, you boot up the game, it's free to play, you don't own any civilizations, and you have to grind out the civilizations by chopping U-logs all day. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the game itself. Right now, Telemachos knows that the way to break a stall in a long team game is to take out the trade. Almost everything about this game is awesome. The way the trade line is set up, it creates such an interesting gameplay dynamic, doesn't it? The way that you generate money. This is so risky. Your opponents have so much room to interact. You have so many workers, so many places and points to pressure. This game is so good. so much counterplay at every point. You want infinite gold? That's vulnerable. This is a complex thing, trying to set up the optimal trade line, defending it. This is the lifeblood that sustains these late-game team games. Telemachos wants in. I don't know if Flatch is ready for this. He's got these barracks here, which will be producing halbs to defend himself. He's got to watch out for the light cav spam that's coming in. Meanwhile, Pete has to deal with Jom Nall. We're going to have to answer the question here. What's better, the Slavs late game or the Indians late game? And actually, their late game is both great, so we'll have to see. Yeah, usually I'm on the FE account as well. It's usually Sessions on his personal account if he's in the chat. Extra has for C-Drams. We'll have to see. That's incredibly unlikely, but I wouldn't be opposed if Age of Empires 4 did something like that. I think skins are cool, actually. Yeah, Telemacho's gonna go for that trade line. One of the... Ooh. Yeah, I actually kind of liked it, Age of Mythology, that you like could trade with yourself, though. That was pretty... trade lines are a great mechanic. I love having your workers sprawled out. Like, I never get bored. This game has so much replay value because there's so many things you have to do. Also, I think the random maps help, for sure. Sure, they're not always balanced, and maybe that could be improved, but every game of Age of Empires 2 just always feels fresh. There's so many civs, so many different types of units, a lot of decisions that you have to make, and it's very much based on what your opponent is doing. This game is all mind games, and building your base is just infinitely satisfying because there's so much stuff to do. It's a fun way to express yourself. I like it. We'll see if Flatch can hold the line here. He has to keep this trade line alive, and oh my god, Telemacho is gonna wall this off, which will deny the trade. This is why I love games where there are very few restrictions. Think of all the ridiculous strategies in this game with tower rushes and whatnot, but they're balanced kinda naturally. Isn't that beautiful? It's not something where, you know, I feel like a game is not very well balanced if you have to, for example, put some arbitrary restrictions like, oh, you know, you can't build castles and towers this close to your opponent's base. I feel like if you're having to put in all those things, that there might be some balance issues. And that in an ideal world, yeah, sometimes you do have to do that. Not every game that does that is bad, of course. Or poorly balanced, but I feel like in an ideal world, these are things that leave a lot for the player to discover. You're not really telling them how to play. The way that they play is something they're going to figure out. Is, I mean, why is a tower rush good? We're not restricting that. And if you put in a bunch of natural systems and counterplay for your opponent rather than being like, you can't do this, then I think that it's fun. Yeah. AoE is a game that is fundamentally really simple and fun to play badly, and yet has so much infinite competitive depth to it. I think this has like just a great balance of macro, micro game. Yeah, I mean, I liked Age of Empires 3. It's a game I really had a lot of fun playing. It didn't feel like an Age of Empires game to me, but as a standalone RTS, I really liked it. So, yeah, I talk about this a lot, but Age of Mythology is a game I really enjoyed too. I feel like that's a spin-off game done right. So let's talk about a little bit about disasters here. So Pete needs money right now, and he does not have a Nigerian prince to wire him the dollars that he needs to win this game. These trade carts are looking for the Nigerian prince, but they're hitting a little bit of a stone wall from Telemachos, and Flash needs to deal with this. I don't know where the C-Dram is going, but it should probably go over here. I wonder if they've noticed yet. Pete has almost 2k gold in the bank, but as soon as he runs out, I really feel like the green is just gonna run him over. The Slavs, with that cleave damage, he's still missing Blast Furnace, but that's all good. Got some solid late game trash. But man, without any trade, it can end up being GG, as Frank OP points out. This is gonna be tricky. Oh yeah, Age of Empires 2 also has a really straightforward, easy-to-use scenario editor. This game's got personality. It's super fun. Oh yeah, modern RTS games don't have audio taunts. That's pretty cool. I always dig that. I just love that you can have a map like Forest Nothing in Age of Empires 2. You can't really do that in most RTS games, right? The way the bases are structured, you know, without... I feel like eco management and base management, while unintuitive, competitively is just fun. It's just fun. Because not everybody is a micro god, and this game still requires micro, but macro decision-making is also super important, too. That being said, I enjoy other RTS games, too. I played so much StarCraft. And StarCraft is great soundtrack, great voice acting, it's fun. But Age of Empires 2 will always hold a special place in my heart. Well, here comes the Wrecking Crew. No siege engineers for the Spanish, though, and these trade carts gotta back up. That sucks. So much gold down the drain. Speak of the devil, Pete out of money. Now he has to make some trash units and champions, and this could be the momentum that Jomnal needs to push him back. Will it be enough? We'll have to see, because meanwhile, Flatch taking some serious damage. Telemachus has not let up the pressure. So, this is interesting. I feel like instead of elite conquistadors, you might want hand cannoneers here, because I think hand cannoneers do much more damage to infantry. I might be wrong, but I think they do. So I feel like conks aren't great here. Also because you have to bike them really carefully versus the halbs, or they just get shanked. So I think I would have liked to have seen hand cannoneers be utilized here, because there really isn't that much siege from Telemacho. So I think I would have liked to see hand cannoneers plus bombard cannons, which has, I guess, been a reoccurring theme today. This trebuchet deploying. With the hill disadvantage, it's going to take a while to destroy this castle, but no masonry or anything for Flatch, so actually it won't take that long at all. And with their economy in shambles like this, holy hell, he's raiding a trade line with an onager. Oh god. Another thing that makes this game great, the mangonel versus crossbowman dynamic in the castle age. It's so much fun. So much counterplay. This game, oh yeah, this game has natural comeback mechanics. It's not that snowbally. That's excellent. In a game like... Now, for example, StarCraft like continually forces you towards the middle of the map really early. And this game, if you lose map control, you are still really far behind, but there are comeback mechanics, you know. Like the Mangonel, for example, is just so immaculately well designed. And that's something that your opponent has so much counterplay to, like they can juke the shots. But if you're behind, the Mangonel allows you to basically trade one unit for like 20 if you're really good. It's a great defensive thing. It's naturally defensive because it's slow as hell. Oh, this game's sick. Like a forward has so many natural drawbacks, but these are general RTS mechanics, though, that come into play. This game just works. Onager trade raid. Strong, Toby. It's the new meta. JT Lonely Knight's still on fire. Third Cross says, I'm calling it now, yellow and green will win, we'll have to see. Jovenal says, I have the gold, just not the production buildings. And on the opposing team, the opposite is true. Telemacho's attacking all the right places, and Flatch falling apart, unfortunately. Does not have much of the economy. He's going to lose his main base. And the question is, what can he do to make this better, or what could he have done? I was going to say the main problem here is he hasn't really built many trade carts this game, and that's sort of true. It's just that he's encouraged to make helps here anyway because of these light cav, and he actually has some gold. It's just, his economy is super weak. I feel like he needed to make different units and maybe some trade carts to try and deal with this situation, but it's always easier for us to look at that in retrospect. Meanwhile, though, Pete is just doing a number on Jovenal, and if Flatch can stem the bleeding, if he can amputate some limbs, cauterize those wounds long enough for Pete to come in here, they might win the game. He just has to get to the trade line, cut that off. Can Flatch stall? Because he's like no eco whatsoever, and I think that his main focus right now should be town centers. This is something that I do reasonably well. Is that when I'm losing from years of playing Black Forest and Voodoo, is that when you're like behind, the first thing you should do is just plot down as many town centers as possible and just shift queue villagers. His economy is not good enough. He needs to replace all those lost villas per anno. Yeah, he just does not have enough. He's got 63 infantry, which means that he has like 80-ish villagers. That's not going to be good enough. He needs to make like 40 more villagers. Single archer here for Pete, the secret weapon. Will it be enough? Comes the champions. Jovenal really falling apart at the seams as well. But he's built a nice little defensive perimeter with these walls, with these barracks. I think he'll be okay for now. No fortified walls out for him. But Pete's going to be stalled anyway. There's not really that much space for Flatch to build up his eco, but that should be the priority, is just shift queuing villagers. Shift queuing houses. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's not winning, it's not dying. It's dying slowly. It's an important life skill to have. We need more town centers, we need more villagers, more houses, more macro, more. God, macro is fun in this game. But so is the micro aspect of it. The way the units match up and everything is just, it feels so smooth. This game is like fast, but it's not too fast. Because otherwise you end up in a situation where players need to have insane reflexes to be competitive. And it really helps here, though, as we see, but... Alright, more villagers. JT Lomine asks, could a siege tower save the day? No, I don't think so. There are too many units on the other side of this. But oh me, oh my. What a tough game today. Pete pushing in, but again, Jovenal's doing a great job holding the line. Jovenal asks why he's going champions. My champions are much better. So yeah, no blast furnace for Jovenal, which I think is fairly significant, but... Ooh, fortified wall, nice. I almost never see Slavic fortified walls. This might be one of the first times I've seen it in years. They almost look weird. That looks very strange. So, No blast furnace really adds up, but I don't believe the Indians actually get the final plate mail armor upgrade. As to why he's making champions, I think he's doing it as a way to deal with the halbs and also just conserve gold, because I don't believe Pete has too much gold. No, he doesn't. So he's just looking for like a low gold cost way to deal with the... Oh wow, is Flash pushing this back? What the hell? Is this game not over? No way. What a great game. This is going to exhaust me. So, it looks like yellow is raiding some red economy. And this could slow down Pete's push. Actually, Pete not able to get pop capped yet because he hasn't had any trade at all. He needs to establish this corner, which Flash has actually somehow managed to hold the line here. I guess halbs aren't the best way to close out a game, but they just don't have the gold to really do anything else. Still, though... Oh, Blast Furnace out for Dome Doll. GG. Pete getting pushed back. He does not have the gold to deal with these low-cost, efficient Slavic champions. These guys, so efficient with Dragina, doing that damage in an AoE. It's very, very nice. So, how are they going to win this game? How are Blue and Red going to do this? Well, it's really close. They need to establish a new trade line. That's what they need to do. They need to build Marcus over here, reestablish that trade, clear out this forward. Pete's actually going to lose this area, so the nice thing is that maybe this gives an opportunity for Flash to stabilize and Pete to build back his own base, so we'll have to see. Loom OP. That's something you can't hold me to. Oh no, Sagam. Oh, what have I done? well. Looks like Telemachus actually somehow has enough gold in the bank for Paladins. This could be the decisive technology for this match. We'll have to see. Running out of voice. This is just a really nice defensive perimeter. I think one of the reasons why Pete struggled to push in here is not only does he not have access to the gold that he needs to make these units, to counter them, but also this is like a small hill here, which I feel like makes it really difficult to push in. Also just a nice little choke point. We got castles back there. This is really well-structured defense from Jomnal. It's quite nice. It's real nice. Have you learned your AI so perfect boar lure without loom? So any sort of weird AI bugs you see are usually Skybox engine-related bugs. And like my AI losing villagers to boar was just an engine HD bug. The reason it doesn't do that anymore is because that bug has since been fixed with the engine, so I have no control over that. But it's great news that Resonance Bot now lures boars effectively, and same with the new default AI. It's great. Gisbard asks, I was holding off on the latest expansion for a while, didn't feel the need for the content, thought I might wait for a deal on Steam. Got it the other day, didn't anticipate how much I love the new villager phrases. Well, thank you, Jesrard. I feel like getting the feel for the new expansions is so hard. This is an old game, it has a legacy to carry forward, and having buildings and units that kind of fit with that old aesthetic is really, really tricky. And I always admire that the Forgotten team somehow managed to do that. I remember booting it up, and I was shocked too, Jesrard, that the unit voices felt natural. The buildings look the same style. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you picked up one of the DLCs. And this has kind of breathed new life into the game for me, as AoE will always have a special place in my heart, but it's just so cool to see it getting the support that it so deserves. This is a really good game. That's why it's so popular on Steam today. Even during the times when HD was a little bit buggier than it is now. The fact that people are still playing it's crazy. I love that the Voobla community is so large. You got AOC Zone. It's a great game. GG, well played. So, Pete and Flash do end up resigning at the end. So, Jomnal and Telemachus, congratulations on your win. I feel like every player in this game played very well, and this was such a neck-and-neck grindy game. But in the end, they come out on top because I really feel like there wasn't much of an opportunity for either of these two players to build back their eco. I think the Paladin rating was very decisive. Once Telemachus had the eco to support the Paladins, he'd been conserving his gold all game, building up that trade line, then there was almost no way for them to actually defend against that. They just didn't have the eco. I think I explained this in-game, Jomnal, but aha, I was correct. So Pete says that he needed something to counter the halberdiers, and Pete didn't have the gold really to make anything else. So it's really just he needed something to deal with the halbs, and he needed a low gold cost way to deal with that. I don't think he would have made champs if he had more money. Yeah, congratulations, Joe Null. It's always a pleasure, man. I do think the Indians lacked the last armor upgrade for their champions. If he was in a tough situation, he had no gold, and he had to deal with this infantry flood. So I think making champions there was fine. It was not an ideal situation to be in for sure for the Indians. I think he really wanted to make hand cannoneers if he could, but didn't have the money, man. Yeah, it was a GG. Sagam, I've actually answered that question 6 times today, but I don't mind. It's part of the job. I just love interacting with the community. What I've been doing for years. So, patch 5.2 has been delayed, so I encourage you to play patch 5.2 beta with your friends. We obviously don't want to segment the community too much, though, so that's why it's still beta and we didn't push it to live. There are a couple long-standing bugs with it that need to be fixed that have been introduced. So, performance improvements in patch 5.2 are great, but it's been delayed due to these really bad bugs, and patch 5.3 is probably going to be the one that goes public first instead. So no patch 5.2 public, probably, tentatively. 5.3 will probably be the one that's coming instead. And 5.3 will contain all your patch 5.2 performance fixes, as well as some additional improvements. I'm not exactly sure what patch 5.3 contains or when it's coming out, but hopefully soon. Patch 5.3, we're looking at things like improving the spectator system as well as unit pathing. I don't know if those things will make it in patch 5.3, but those are the soon TM things. That'd be great if we get to patch 5.9. Oh yeah, Sultan's boosted trade. Alright, well. Yeah, that was a great game. Let's see, look at the achievements here. Talmasha did a good job conserving his gold. Flash unfortunately never really got to set up a trade line. I think the Sultan's boosted trade for the Indians, the 10% extra gold income plus the Spanish is pretty solid. Helped keep Pete in the game until he lost his trade. Lost his text researched. Yeah, I feel like Flash just it was mostly an eco thing. Like once he lost a lot of once he lost his like main town center, he was at 80 villagers for a really long time. I think that was like slowly weakening him. The eco is not large enough. Some of it was like missing trade cards, but overall I think he did a good job defending, and he like actually kept coming back. Pete says it's K. Yeah, I would, I think you're misinterpreting it, Dark Paladin, but basically what Giant Apple is saying, like with everything, is be reasonable, in that I think it's really bad manners to make your opponent destroy all your buildings, as they probably have things they'd rather be doing with their time. If you have a chance at winning, I don't think you should surrender, but if you have no chance at winning, I think you should absolutely surrender. And that just requires good judgment, definitely. Obviously, if you have like 2 villagers left, you're in the corner, you have no teammates, everyone on the enemy team is alive, you've lost. But if your teammates are doing really well and you have a couple villagers left, until your teammates start losing, I'd probably stay in the game. Once your teammates start losing, then you probably resign. Yeah, that's... Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this week's FE live stream. I am going to finish up my work for the day and then try out the Nintendo Switch as soon as I'm done. It takes a lot of self-control, but we gotta finish our work for the day, and then I'll try out the Nintendo Switch later and whatnot. And then I have another live stream on my personal Twitch page tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed the stream and the games. Have a wonderful day. We really do have the best community out there. Yeah, or at least one of them. I can't say the best. There are a lot of great online communities. We have one of the best. Take care, Dark Paladin. Take care, everybody. Bye, Sagam. Have a wonderful day. Yeah, that's why Spies is cool technology. That's why I like Spies. See, this game has so many cool... Maybe that's something I should do as a social media post in Forgotten Empires, is ask the community. I like to ask everybody, not just myself, what makes this game so great. I think we'll find that the answer is a lot of things. See you, McKay. See you, Pete. See you, Melanie. Bye, Larry Luna. See you, Joe. Yeah, Slavs are pretty good. Yeah, I would agree, Joe Null, that the Slavs have a pretty interesting set of bonuses that allow them to just kind of like delay a player while your teammate kills the other. It's nice. They're kind of tricky to play. See you, Giant Apple. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you all either tomorrow on my personal stream or next week-ish. Make sure to subscribe to Forgotten Empires on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and Facebook for updates.